Do we trust Vogue anymore as like the arbiter of fashion? Vogue now is selling products. And that's fine. We don't trust the media. I think that like one of the last vestiges of our trust, because we don't trust the politicians, we don't trust the media, and now we can't even trust our favorite brands. You trusted that they stood for their story and value and quality, and then you see that not so much. And it looks like a lot of them have been just trying to maintain a certain revenue level and increase it. I mean, growth has gotten in the way of good business.
Welcome back to another episode of the Innovate on Purpose podcast, hosted by Matt Mueller,
best-selling author of The Mindful Innovator and Rethink Retail's top retail expert.
We can help retail leaders find clarity so they can grow their businesses purposefully.
We will uncover mindful tips, innovative solutions, and purposeful leadership advice and strategies that you can apply immediately to your retail innovation. Are you ready to innovate on purpose?
Hey, before we jump into the episode today, I just wanted to say thank you for hitting the play button. You being here fires me up, and I cannot wait to share with you the insights that are going to make a difference in your business. Do me a favor, hit the subscribe button and leave a review so I can reach as many retail leaders as possible. They too need to hear this. Okay, let's do it. Welcome back to Innovate on Purpose, the show where we explore bold ideas and honest conversations that move retail and CPG forward. Today, we're diving deep into luxury, a word that's been stretched, diluted, and democratized to the point where it sometimes loses its meaning. My guest is Marie Driscoll, one of the most respected voices in the business of fashion and luxury. She's the founder of Driscoll Advisors. She's a Rethink Retail advisor, a consultancy, and she works in a consultancy that helps investors and brands navigate the evolving retail landscape. Marie was formerly the managing director of luxury and retail at Coresight Research, and she also teaches at Parsons, FIT, and Baruch College. She's been tracking this industry for decades and brings a clear-eyed view of what's changing and what's worth saving. Today, we're unpacking the new luxury opportunity, how ubiquity undermines exclusivity, why indiscriminate price hikes are breaking trust, and where brands can win again by competing on quality, uniqueness, and founder-driven authenticity. Let's jump in. Marie, thank you so much for being on the show today.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Of course. Yes, we've been part of Rethink Retail now for quite some time together, and I've been meaning to get this podcast going for a while. So just you always have something amazing to talk about, and just it's amazing to see what the relationships you have in the business and what you're bringing to the forefront. So super excited to jump into the conversation today.
Thank you. And I'm really excited too. And it's been great working with you. I love
Thanks, Marie.
the work that we're doing together at Rethink Retail Advisory.
Yeah, it's really cool. Because I mean, well, like I have nothing to do with luxury. I don't know anything about it. I'm like a deli meat guy, grocery guy, but it's all retail, right? So the great thing about Rethink Retail is that we have the greatest minds in all aspects of retail. And when we come together, it's like one of those Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. You take the best of everything and bring it all together into this, big superhero. So
And
that's us.
and there's lots that you can learn from like fast food, casual dining,
Yeah.
and grocery, and apply it to luxury and vice versa, right?
Yeah.
It's not the same playbook. And frankly, I'm not sure a playbook is the right word anymore, right? It's like
Yeah.
we don't want copy and paste business models. We want a copy and paste business model maybe works where you're really looking for efficiencies, streamlining, and not so much touch of the consumer, like the subscriptions that we want, right? The toilet, the cat food, but the things that we enjoy shopping for, and we enjoy and when we enjoy discovery, and when we enjoy social, that's not copy and paste, but there's similar aspects to all of them.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So let's start with the basics, Marie.
Okay.
How would you define true luxury today? And like, what do you see as like the markers that separate enduring luxury from the mere like expense or trend type of luxury?
Yes. Yeah, luxury is really in the midst of morphing, changing into something new. It's really in the last 25 years, it's really been rapidly changing, partly because of the onslaught of the Chinese consumers since like the early 2000s, maybe 2003, where they were a driving force in the growth of the industry. And as new luxury shoppers, and really, I remember in like 2003 to 2007, there was such vibrancy in the Chinese domestic market that there was like a millionaire born every day, and they were shopping in China and around the world, mostly going outside of China to buy luxury objects on their trips and also taking home some of the purchases. So buying for more than one and bringing home the purchases. Incredibly driving, the industry, driving industry awareness, and also a certain amount of the logo product, right? The things that were easily recognizable and providing status to the people that own them. But luxury, if you go back to like Louis XIV, was really about having fine crafted, the best quality things that were beautiful and gorgeous, that enhanced your life and enhanced your lifestyle, and also really were a marker of wealth, right? Because only the wealthy could afford that. So intrinsic in luxury is fabulous quality, right? Some degree of exclusivity, and it's morphed from exclusivity based on who could afford it, which is still for some luxury, but exclusivity in the sense that what you buy makes you feel as though it was personalized and special for you, the shopper, right?
Mm.
So that kind of exclusivity.
So it makes you feel
So
like you're kind of part of like a club.
it could be that, right? That you're part of a rarefied group of people, but it also, you know, it's not mass. It's not we're all part of this big team. You're part of a unique club. Then there's the authenticity and the transparency, and that's where the storytelling of a heritage brand, and it doesn't have to be a heritage brand, but all luxury should have some degree of storytelling that's about its origins and how it's put together and how the product's sourced, and if you have that storytelling, it's also providing transparency, which is something that a lot of younger consumers want. And I think that at the end of the day, really, luxury changes how you feel. Fashion changes how you feel. Like, I don't know if you have experienced, you put on a suit, you stand up straighter, you feel like, wow, I can really rock this, right? And I know that for me, you put on a red dress, you might feel a whole lot sexier than you do when you put on a pink skirt, They change how you feel, and so you can use fashion to change how you feel. Luxury does it even more because luxury has the combined elements of this great product, and the product feels good. It's exclusive then, and that makes you feel special. You become part of the story when you choose it. So whatever the story is for the brand, the fact that you've chosen it says something about you. And that, to your point,
Yeah.
makes you part of that club, right? And you're creating an emotional connection. And I think some of it has to do with, the people that you're working with, the people that you see, you know,
Yeah.
like it can be on the phone. You can call, it can even be a good chat on an app, but more likely it's actually in person.
Yeah, it's you've given the definition of luxury, I think, so much depth there, like where most would just say it's expensive items that are probably high quality. I think that's fair, but the elements of storytelling and marketing that goes into it could be so powerful. That feeling of community or that club, yes, it's so powerful. My son yesterday, actually, he put on a suit. Like usually he wears like sweatpants and a t-shirt to school. And yesterday they had like Spirit Week and they were dressing up. And yesterday he put on the suit and he was like, "Oh yeah, like this is I got my jacket on, my tie." He was like, just he felt like you could see the confidence just boost him up just by putting the suit
Isn't
on.
that right? And that's how you know, my God, that's why I really love fashion, luxury, and beauty, because
Yeah.
all of those categories do that. But I also think that, like, not for me, but for some people, a car does that for them, right?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it is just that just picks up that level of emotion.
Hmm.
So I want to shift this over, like thinking about like the last 5 years. Like, what have been the most consequential shifts in luxury retail, like from consumer expectations to global market dynamics?
Yeah. So COVID changed everything. Depending on where you lived, within 3 to 4 months, you might be able to go out with some degree of safety and go hiking, walk along the beach, but far away from people. Like there was this distancing that we had. The products that make us feel the most are the luxury products, right? They have the biggest bang for the buck. When you buy yourself something that you've saved for that's a high price, that is special and different, it provides like you feel sated for a little while. You're not on the rat race of let me buy another, let me buy another. So during COVID, I can remember so if it started, say, March 15th, by June 15th, people were feeling safe. Their families were safe. Their jobs were safe if they were safe, right? But they couldn't go out and do anything. For the last 3 months, they hadn't done anything. So they hadn't spent any money. When I tracked like the average savings for a New Yorker, right? Between the subways, the cabs, the coffees, the lunches, right? And that's not even the fun. That's just like the day to day living.
Yeah.
You could easily be saving $2,000 a month, right?
Nice. Yeah.
And then if you also spent $1,000 a month having fun, which would be $50 a week, which is may but let's just say that's $3,000 a month. You had close to $10,000 after 3 months. A lot of people just went out, like I got phone calls. I just bought a handbag that I didn't need, but I feel good. And really that was happening. And that wasn't just happening with people that were luxury shoppers. That was happening with people that weren't luxury shoppers. I can
Hmm.
remember seeing the president of LVMH on stage at the NRF in 2013. No, I'm sorry, 2023. And I remember him saying, we don't think it's going to go away because luxury is sticky, right?
Mm,
Once you've tasted better quality, once you've
yeah,
worn better quality, handled better quality, eaten better quality, it's hard to go back. And there's a truth to that. But then
absolutely.
the other things happened. And some of the other things that happened were like we know the inflation that occurred throughout the economy during COVID because of a broken supply chain and the inefficiency of supply and demand, right? And that lasted for 2 or 3 years. And on the other side, in 2023, 24, we started to see heavy inflation eat through the economy. And now people were back out. And while they may have wanted stuff, they really, really wanted experiences. So they wanted
Yeah.
to travel. That was put on hold for a while. So all of a sudden, the consumer wallet, which is a pie, had more money that was being allocated for services again, less for products, services, experiences, going to the theater, going across the country and going to Europe, whatever it was. And that starts to contract the available funds for luxury. What did luxury do? They raised their prices. They raised their prices. And
Hmm.
they were meeting their now during COVID, they may have had some supply chain constraints because it was hard to get the raw materials. People weren't working in the factories, all those issues. So it may have lengthened the time that you got something, you waited for it, and the price went up by the time you got it. And that was all understandable within the context of the first 2 years of COVID. By year three, it's like, wow, the quality isn't the same. The prices are higher. What's going on? And
Mm,
now we're spending money elsewhere. So, you always have a confluence of so many different, you never hold everything still. There's like all these confluences of trends. That's what happened. Prices for the average luxury handbag, Chanel, Louis Vuitton, Prada, Dior went up more than 100% over the course of like 5 years from 2019 to 2024.
And that must be so frustrating for the consumer that just entered the category of luxury. They had their first opportunity with COVID and all their savings. They have a cool a new handbag or whatever the luxury item is. And now you want to do it again, buy another one. And now you have less quality, higher prices. And
Right.
you're like, what am I doing here? That's one way to drive customers away.
And that's where, like last year, in 2024 at Shop Talk in Vegas, I presented on mastige, and that's where all of a sudden, not all of a sudden, brands that sat in contemporary, new luxury brands that were not the old houses of luxury, not the Dior, Chanel's, which are very expensive brands, right? Like their handbags are from 6 to 12,000. You had new brands come in from like 600 to 3,000. All of a sudden, some people call them ankle biters, right? They start biting at the ankles of these big giants, and they matter. You have enough ankle biters. And guess what? Like there's more quality, there's more bang for the buck at the lower price point than there is at the high price point.
Yeah.
And I think that there also was the transparency of the supply chain, where we saw some broken features in Made in Italy, where we saw that the price of the raw materials that go into the price of a Dior handbag, we saw how there was maybe some labor abuse. That made the consumer sit back and think. And I also think, like, one thing I talk about is, when you're buying a luxury bag, when you're buying luxury, you're not really thinking price. You're in the realm of the dream. You're loving it. And I think what happened was, all of a sudden people were told the price tag and they went, "What? Wait?"
Turn into a nightmare.
And it's like it took you out of the realm of the dream, put on the economic hat. And it's like, no, this doesn't make sense. I'm going to find another option. I don't need this. And I don't need this. Fashion is part of self expression. I don't need to spend another $5,000 to feel better about myself. I feel good enough about myself. I think I'll go to Paris instead.
Yeah. Yeah. That's another way to feel good.
Yeah, right, right. The alternatives.
Exactly. Yeah. So like we're kind of talking about it already, but like, thinking about like, the recent headlines that are spotlighting like these big houses that are prioritizing volume and profits, sometimes at the expense of the product quality or even the client experience. Like what are some other recent examples that stand out to you as trust breakers?
Well, so the raising of the prices, like I know that there was just a lot on TikTok of a brand that an influencer bought, put it on like a few $1,000 jacket, button came off in a second. Went
Ugh,
back and got another one, and same thing happened. This doesn't happen. This doesn't happen when you shop at Old Navy. This should not be happening when you
so
shop.
true.
Right. It's like this is so. I think that's a trust breaker. I think the trust breaker was the transparency in seeing some of these very storied brands blow up in Italy. It's on the pages of the New York Times and the Wall Street Journal, and it's on TikTok. It's like people are aware. And then, I mean, the other trust break, like, do we trust Vogue anymore as like
Mm.
the arbiter of fashion? Vogue now is like selling products, right?
Oh yeah.
And and that's fine. But like, we don't trust the media. I think that like one of the last vestiges of our trust, because we don't trust the politicians, we don't
Mhm.
trust the media, and now we can't even trust our favorite brands. I mean, it's crazy that the brands are what we trust, but that's
Yeah.
really what you trusted that to get value for what you trusted that they stood for their story and value and quality, and then you see that not so much. And it looks like, a lot of them have been just trying to maintain a certain price level and and I mean overall a certain revenue level and increase it. I mean, growth has gotten in the way of good business. It really has. It's growth has, this demand for, comp the comp. Let's
Hmm.
have another year of, double digit growth or high single digit growth. You're stretching the brands too far. I
Yeah.
learned early in my career from the CEO at Urban Outfitter, Dick Haynes, who's founded the company. Big is the enemy of cool. It's just,
Mhm.
At a certain point, like, it's just to be that big puts strains on the brand, and then it becomes ubiquitous and it's no longer cool, which is why really the big luxury houses like LVMH have like 75 different brands so that they're never putting that kind of weight on any one or two of them. But in truth, in the last few years, Dior and Louis Vuitton were getting that kind of weight.
Mhm. And so you're seeing, like, the big houses going more to, like, diversification of brands. This way they have, like, these just different styles, different brands that may appeal to consumers rather than having, like, the mass.
But and can you can put the growth levers on them. You can alter
Yeah.
it, and you don't like if you only have one brand, and then you're gonna have to deal with the vicissitudes of being in fashion, even though luxury is not net. It plays in fashion, right? It doesn't
Yeah.
it has to luxury and fashion have to be relevant to the culture, and the relevancy changes based on the codes of the fashion and the luxury brand. But you know, if you have one brand, it'll go in and out. So you've seen the popularity of Lacoste, say. It was
Mhm.
high and then it was low, and same for Tommy Hilfiger. Same, and then when they become part of groups, there's not as much pressure. When Tommy isn't popular, Calvin Klein is.
Yeah. It's like having a diversified stock
Right.
portfolio, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Exactly.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that makes a lot of sense. So that's I guess that's the way that the larger brands or the larger houses are reacting to new market trends. How do younger brands combat that? Like how do they stand out? Because the bigger houses have the ability to get eyeballs a lot easier. They have
Yeah.
the money and the backing. So what is like a younger brand? What do they do?
Yeah, it's very hard. I mean, it costs as much like, there, it's like you wanna be seen by the right people, you can gift it to some people so that, you're in the realm, but some brands just practice a lot of mystique, like Chrome Hearts, very high-end brand, and, like, it's hard to even get into the store, it's hard to get them to show you the product, and that works for them, and that's where, like, they don't have to be big. They're not going for big, but
Hmm.
public companies are always going for growth. And like one of the phenomenons of the 2010 to 2020 was Gucci. And through it all, the president there, Marco Bizzarro, would say, this is not going to maintain. This is not normal. This kind of high double digit growth, like you hit, like the law of numbers doesn't work anymore.
Yeah,
And so, you get to 10 billion euros and like this is big. It would make sense for it to decline so. But of course, the investors don't ever really
of
believe it.
course not. No, it's always about growth and comping, and yeah, there is going to be that bubble where when you're growing so fast, it's going to have to correct itself.
So younger brands really, they just have to stick to their knitting, know that it takes time. Probably, either if they bring on equity owners, right? I see your cat.
Yes, Izzy is making an appearance. Her butt is making an appearance into the show, right?
Well, so if they bring on equity owners, you want equity owners that are strategic and understand the nature of the business and that it takes time, right? It's like you don't want to push and grow too big. I mean, you really want the tension of there being more demand than supply.
Absolutely, yeah. Like you said, big is the enemy of cool. I love that phrase. So yeah, so definitely staying away from getting big. And I think you hit something earlier too that I think is so important for these luxury brands and all brands, no matter what industry you're in. But it's the storytelling, right? It's like what is the story, whether it's heritage or just a really cool founder story, can elevate a brand so much.
Right, right. And every it's like I've worked with people that are starting brands, people that are really passionate and they love their product and they don't necessarily yet know how to tell a story. And the only one that can really tell the story is them. They have like to go in and fabricate a story for them, it's kind of flat, right?
Yeah,
We know the difference, which means that they have to really learn another skill and
yeah,
learn how to take um take what it is they do and the inception of the idea, and put it in a story that people want to engage in. And
Yeah.
people will, because if they love your stuff, they're going to want to hear, like, how did you do it?
Yeah, absolutely. Are there like any like questions that you would kind of advise a founder to ask themselves as they're building out that story?
So what should they be asking themselves? Well, partly they should be asking themselves what they want to be, right? And be really honest. Like some people, so I teach funding, fashion, and beauty at Parsons. And I have founders come in, and some have come in saying, I know that I want to exit in 5 years. And like that's like, I want to create a business, I want to make money, and then I want to come back and start again. Or
Yeah.
else I so the passion is either in the creating, not the managing of a business, right?
Hmm.
The managing of the business, that can be, given over to seasoned business professionals, as long as they truly understand branding and the importance of the brand and keeping the consumer at the center and the brand at the center. That doesn't happen all the time because, as you know, a lot of professionals just look at the numbers and they don't want to look at that. Numbers are an abstraction of reality. They are real, but they're like, you've got to look at what's working and what's not working, not just the numbers that are derivative of it.
Yeah, absolutely.
But so I tell people to look at, have a sense of what the brand is, where they want to go, and that they really all should understand numbers too. Like, and trust, and have someone that you trust who understands numbers,
Yeah.
understand as much as you can.
Yeah, absolutely. It's so important to surround yourself with people that don't have the same skill set as you. A lot of times we navigate or gravitate towards people that are like us, but like when you do have that new skill sets, like we talked about earlier, like us at Rethink Retail, right? We have all those different skill sets, and we come together. It balances it all out and makes sure that we're strong all across. But yeah, absolutely. You have to know your numbers, even if you have a numbers person with you. Just
Right.
always have that for sure. Yeah. I wanna move on to distribution strategies.
Mhm.
So, like, because there's been some interesting partnerships, right? So we have, like, partnerships like Saks on Amazon or the proliferation of outlet stores playing right now into the erosion of luxury mystique. Like, let's talk a little bit about, like, what are those strategies right now that brands should be following?
Yeah. Well, it's interesting. I was asked to comment today on The Body Shop. Do you remember The Body Shop?
I do, yeah.
So it imploded a year or two ago, left the United States, but was bought by equity and private equity, and now it's relaunching in America on Amazon. And so it's not, the way it was discovered when it came here, and when it was born in the 70s, and I don't know when it came here, but it was certainly here in the 90s,
Mhm.
is on the corner, on street corners, on Main Street, right?
Yeah.
Um but Amazon, I believe, is the largest beauty retailer in the country. And so it makes sense to be there. Is like a fair amount of beauty is replenishment. Amazon is not where you want to be discovered, because if you're discovered not by any of the dreams and the storytelling, you're discovered in, a thumbprint, and just the algorithm that brings something to the top, and have you paid enough to be there? I think that the best brands understand that they have to be everywhere. Like, we know that the department store industry has gone through a lot of vicissitudes. And one of the reasons why Saks is on Amazon is when Saks Global was formed by HSBC with the purchase of Neiman Marcus and Bergdorf Goodman, Amazon, Salesforce, and a few investors provided some of the funding. So that gave Amazon into luxury, which they've been trying to do other than beauty, because beauty they did get on their website. Um, so now Saks has a portal on Amazon, and Saks also had its own, Saks.com, which was very successful. But
Mhm.
when, a few years ago, Saks separated .com and physical stores, which really, that was flying in the face of what everybody else was doing with kind of
Yeah, the
unified
have
research.
a
I'm sorry,
omni-channel.
unified. commerce, right? But that was because of valuation purposes. Their dot-com business was worth more than their landed business, even with the flagship in New York, which is quite valuable, right?
Uh-huh.
Um, but Saks is closing their off price here in New York. Like, so there's so many dynamics. Department stores are in a renaissance, but they're struggling. And I see here in New York where we have many department stores, like Macy's is actually getting better. Bloomingdale's is getting much better. Nordstrom's, now that it went private, is also doing better.
Look at that.
Yeah. Have you been in Nordstrom's?
I have not been in a while, but I do have one near me. I might have to go visit.
Yeah, and when you go in and you talk to the salespeople, like, they're happy. Everybody understands the business, but when you have investors, they don't really care. It's like
Yeah.
they understand, but they don't care.
Mhm.
And some of them don't really understand. But the
Show me the
people,
money.
yeah, yeah, it's really that. This is one thing that Mickey Drexler, who had, brought Gap and J. Crew to their heyday, would say, I want to be in control of my brand. I don't want to be sold where other people are managing my price, because if I'm managing it, I know that this week, there could have been, a very important debt. Like the when Donald Trump was, when they tried to assassinate him, right? People may not have gone shopping that week, right? Doesn't mean that the brand isn't popular. It means that people were preoccupied. If you
Mhm.
have snow in a region for like 2 weeks, it doesn't mean that, like, yes, it's going to cause hiccups to the flow of merchandise. More merchandise will come in, and you're going to have to deal with that. But if you're the brand, you're not going to mark down your price, because you know that that's really ultimately going to destroy your brand equity for the long term. And it's really not going to, you know, it's really not going to help you. It's just going to help you move your product.
Yeah.
When you're a retailer that sells everybody's brands, you've got more stuff coming at you. You had the same things happen, and you just start cutting prices if you have to, right?
Yeah.
So, like, department stores have had a hard time here, but I do see a resurgence, and the metrics show that foot traffic is up, and I think I see Macy's and Bloomingdale's both elevating their offering. One interesting thing that I see happening at outlets is, while, in the 2000 to 2012, 2014, maybe too many outlet stores were open. That's been rationalized. And
Mhm.
now, like, a company, a brand like Coach, which is very popular, is actually able to sell full price merchandise in their outlets, because that's where, if the consumer is there and they want the product, they don't care whether it's full price or not.
Yeah. Yeah. You're going for that brand and how it makes you feel, right?
Right.
So,
And that goes to, like, each brand having its own strategy and localizing it and flexing it and being resilient to the market. And right.
yeah, absolutely. So, are there any brands or new entrants that you would say that they're getting it right, managing to rebuild their brands in a post-COVID world?
Right. So, this isn't really luxury, but it's like entry. And I think a lot, like, part of my thinking is that mastige or premium is benefiting from the disconnect at luxury, where, like, and this is just back of the envelope math, but if the average markup for a premium aspirational brand is 7 or 8 times, at luxury it's 15. So there's more value down here. And
Mhm.
so I think a brand like Stout is doing really well. They're in multiple channels. Are they on Amazon? I don't know, but they're on their own .com. They're in department stores to a limited degree. They have their own stores, right? They're probably part of marketplaces. You want to be in multiple places where the consumer is, but not too deep in any of them.
Mhm. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, so that's a really good way to go.
Mhm. And then finally, like looking ahead, what are the biggest risks and opportunities luxury brands face in the next 12 to 18 months? And how urgent is the need for a strategic reset?
So Brands do provocative things, right? So the Sydney Sweeney at American Eagle could have been provocative. They said it worked out for them. And I have a feeling it did. Louis Vuitton launching a $150 lipstick, that could be provocative. It could be branding. I'm not sure who they're going after. I think that there's like, we'll see what that means, right?
Hmm.
I think I think we have a year or two of brands maintaining the prices they're at, whether tariffs hit them or not, and just letting the market absorb the price increases of the last 5 years. And maybe, and I mean, one way that you can increase prices is on merchandise that people buy every 6 months or once a year by changing the quality, by changing a feature, by changing a size, right? By making the handbag bigger to smaller, adding a shoulder strap, doing something. You can increase the price, and consumers, it's just when it's like for like product and it's up dramatically, then the consumer can remember. I
Yeah.
mean, we remember more the price of eggs and the price of milk because they're buying that more frequently.
Yeah.
Um, and so with fashion, and luxury, you're not buying it as frequently. So you're not, but big things that make you go, what?
Yeah. I
And
don't know.
that's,
Like a luxury item if I purchase like a $1,000 bag,
Mhm.
I'm gonna remember I spent $1,000 on that bag.
Right, yeah, right, right.
Probably
Yeah.
more so than my eggs, but that's just one guy's opinion.
Yeah, right. Well, no, that's valid. That's valid.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for coming on the show today. This has been such a refreshing conversation and a much needed conversation. So you're giving us a real framework for rethinking what luxury means in today's world, from redefining truly exclusivity to product first storytelling to restoring trust and authenticity. So this isn't just a luxury conversation, it's a business one too. So the idea that big is the enemy of cool is something every leader can take to heart no matter what the industry is. So for those listening, if you want to keep up with Marie's insights, follow her work at Driscoll Advisor at Rethink Retail Advisory and read her contributions at the Robin Report and other leading industry platforms. Marie, thank you so much for joining me today on Innovate on Purpose. And to our listeners, if this episode made you rethink how you define value and exclusivity, share it with a colleague or friend who's leading transformation in their own space. I'm Matt Mueller, and this has been Innovate on Purpose. Until next time, keep innovating on purpose. Thank you, Marie, for coming on today.
Thanks. I hope you think it went well.
Oh my gosh, beyond. Yes, that was great.
We have made it to the end of another episode. Thank you for tuning in. A couple of things before you go. If you have found value in this episode, I am sure you'll find value in what we have coming up. So please subscribe so you will have access and know when we launch the next episode. Also, leave a review. The more reviews we have, the further our reach becomes, and I truly want this to be heard by as many leaders as possible. Don't hog this all for yourself. I would love to hear your insights on this topic, so meet me on social media at Matt Mueller Innovation on LinkedIn and Instagram. And lastly, if you want to learn more about my story and what I can do for you and your company, go to themindfulinnovator.com. I would love to help you innovate on purpose. Until next time, just remember, bring a level of awareness to each conversation, each observation, each moment, and you can create great change in this world. Thank you.